You might have noticed that it's a little difficult to gauge where exactly our line trace is coming from. It's coming from the center of the camera, but obviously it's with the naked eye, it's kind of hard to gauge exactly where the center of the camera is. And this is why we have crosshairs. So we're going to be adding a crosshair to our scene in this episode. So we have to first import a crosshair texture. I went ahead and made one that I will provide in the resources tab of this episode. So once you have that downloaded, you can right click, we'll create a new folder, and we'll call this textures, and import, and go ahead and import the crosshair image. Then we can open this up, and it looks really bad here, obviously, but that's because it's a 5 by 5 pixel image exploded to a 900 by 900 pixel image. But over here in the compression settings, we want to change this to user interface, and we want to change this texture group in level of detail to UI. So we can hit save, and we can close that. So in content, let's go ahead and create another folder, and we will call this UMG. Open it up, and we want to go to user interface widget blueprint right here, and we'll call this W main HUD. Our main HUD will contain most of all of our HUD elements that we'll see on screen when we play. So we can open this up. And back in here, we want to create another widget blueprint, and this will be called W Crosshair. And this will be the widget where we put the crosshair in directly. So we can open it up, and we have this screen here, and this represents our player screen. But we don't want this to be set and laid out like a player screen is. We want it its own custom size. So up here, where it says fill screen, we want to change this to desired on screen. This will still leave this box to let us know how big our screen actually is, but if I hover over the canvas panel here, the actual size will depend on what we put in the widget. So we don't actually need the canvas panel here. We can delete it, and instead just add a size box. Now, if you remember me mentioning, the image of the crosshair is only 5 by 5 pixels. So here in the size box, we can check the width and height override, and we can change these both to 5. Great. And it's pretty small, but we can zoom in, see this is a 5 by 5 pixel box. Next, we want to add a image and put it in there. And here under brush, we can change the image to our new crosshair texture. There it is right there. We can press compile and save. Now let's add our crosshair to our main HUD. So we put on our main HUD, close this. Down here under user created, we can see the widgets we've created, including an animation sample UI, which we did not. We can just drag our W crosshair in, and it is not the right size. So we want to change the size X and size Y back to 5 and 5. Now we have a tiny little crosshair, but it's not centered. We'd like it exactly centered in the screen. And there's a good trick for this. So first thing we have to do is anchor it to a position. We have a few different options, and obviously we want to anchor it directly in the center. This will change this little anchor icon to let us know where the anchor is. Now, if we set the position X and Y to 0 and 0, it will not actually be centered. As you can see, it's a little to the right and a little to the bottom. That's because our pivot point of our icon right here is on the upper left side, and we want it directly in the center. We can fix this by right here in the alignment. See how it's 0 and 0? If we change this to 0.5 and 0.5, it is now perfectly centered. These two are values from 0 to 1 to let us change where the pivot point is of our icons. Now we can press compile and save. So now here, if you notice, we didn't delete the canvas panel, and we kept this one on fill screen for main HUD, because this one will fill our entire screen. And we have our little crosshair right in the center to let us know where the center is. But we still need to add this widget to our character, because if we hit play now, our crosshair is not there, and that's because this widget is not assigned to anything. So open our L1 character, and we want to create another function, and we're going to call this initialize. And this will be called at the begin play of our character. So if we go up with the begin play, we still have our string here saying this is our element character. We can delete that, and we can add our initialize function. Now in our initialize function, the first thing we want to do is add our widget. So we can call a create widget. Down here we want to select our main HUD. We want to create a variable for our main widget because we'll have to reference it quite often in the future. So promote to variable, and we'll call this main HUD ref. And from main HUD ref, we want to add it to our viewport. Cool. So now when we hit play, it'll call this initialize function, and our main HUD should be on our viewport, and you should see a little crosshair appear in the center. And there it is. We have a crosshair in the center of our screen.